Hi everyone. We're going to be doing another one of these live Q&As. Today we're going to be talking about mindfulness in daily living, about how to actually implement these ideas into actual scenarios in day-to-day life. Because there's a lot of talk about mindfulness and a lot of words, key hot words, mindfulness, awareness, raised consciousness that are thrown around, and we're not really clear what mindfulness means. A lot of people ask that question. So let's see. To define a word, I often think of its opposite. And so if you're thinking about mindfulness, then think of mindlessness. And then you can start to get a clear idea of the distinction between mindfulness and mindlessness. And if you think about, let's say, what you're eating, if you're mindlessly eating something, you're not paying attention to what you're consuming. In fact, you might actually be consuming what is detrimental to your health, to your well-being. Whereas if you were mindful, you would take closer attention. They can be closely related to careful or thoughtful, as opposed to careless or thoughtless. So when we bring mindfulness into daily living, then we're conscious of the far-reaching consequences, if you would, of all our thoughts, words, and actions. Think of the ripple effects. Think of how are my decisions how do my decisions affect other people? So again, this is a live Q&A. If you have any questions or comments, or you're not clear about how to apply this, someone was using the example that I used in this month's blog entry. If you don't get the monthly emails, I only send out one email a month, and it's normally on the first of every month. You can subscribe to it from the website. It doesn't cost anything. I don't send spam. Just one email a month that just kind of gives you a little bit of food for thought. You can subscribe to it on buddhistbootcamp.com or timberhawkeye.com. Either way, there's a link there. And so I use the example of people who live on the upstairs floor of an apartment building tend to be more mindful of how loud their footsteps are, but only if they have in the past lived below someone who wasn't mindful, if that makes sense. And that's what's so wonderful, is that these people that we are initially inclined to call rude or obnoxious are our greatest teachers. And it's very important not to quickly dub someone as rude. And remember that, as I said in the email, we are all mangoes on the same tree, but we do not all ripen at the same time. So be patient with them. And Christopher, you had a question about social anxiety. There's a YouTube video I put up. You can link to YouTube from my website, specifically about anxiety, that I've heard from many has been really useful to them. So I point you in that direction. It's a short little clip, very much like this, but deals specifically with anxiety. As far as mindfulness, I'm trying to stay on topic here. It's, when we're so quick and want to judge someone for not behaving the way we think they should. And so quite often I say the problem isn't how someone else reacts, but the problem is us thinking they should be some other way. In fact, if you studied nonviolent communication, NVC, you will sure have come across the fact that the word should is one of the most hostile words in our language. And we're constantly shoulding all over other people. We're shoulding all over ourselves. And that's a really good opportunity to stop and go, where's the should here, if that makes sense. Whether it be someone driving faster than you think they should, or someone making more noise than you think they should. The idea is it's so much easier for us to critique someone else's behavior. But I invite you, during those situations when someone's playing loud music or yelling or screaming or slamming doors or whatnot, to not point the finger at someone else, but to take a time out and use that as an opportunity to look within and go, when have I perhaps slammed a door very mindless of the fact that maybe someone is sleeping in the apartment next door and I just woke them up? And you may be thinking, well, maybe it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I shouldn't worry about making noise. Well, what if the next door neighbor is a doctor or a nurse who works a graveyard shift and this is when they actually go to bed. Things like that. It's every single time something happens that irritates you that someone else does, use that as an opportunity to go, how am I possibly irritating someone else without knowing it? Does that, it's so hard. I was going to say, does that make sense? Because I'm used to doing these events live where I'm actually sitting in a circle with a bunch of other people and I get, that immediate feedback. And it's really tough when I'm talking to a screen and there's a long delay between what I say and when you guys comment back. But I'm hoping it makes sense that the invitation is to stop doing this, stop pointing the finger away from you, and start pointing the finger at yourself and go, how can I be more mindful? Because we can't control what other people do, we have no control as much as we'd like to. We cannot in any way change other people's behavior, but we can have their behavior bring our own awareness to how we can change our own. That's the best part. And then we will see everyone in our life as our teacher, not as our enemy, not as someone out to get us, but as someone that is actually helping us be the best version of ourselves there is. If no one tests your patience, then how are you going to learn to be patient? And you know how it works. If you think you need to be stronger, and then life will bring you situations that call upon you to be strong. And that's why I think in both books I talk about the importance and distinction where prayer is concerned. A lot of people think, pray for strength. The moment you pray for strength, you're implying you don't have it. You're asking, please give me something I don't have. And what we think about, we bring about, and we believe the stories we tell ourselves. So if you tell yourself, hey, I don't have strength, then you won't. But if you are taking that opportunity of prayer or meditation to be grateful for what you do have, then you will generate a lot more energy towards that, and you will actually tap into your strength's unlimited supply, if that makes sense. A really interesting aspect to gratitude. I don't know if you know this, but every time you buy the book on the website, another copy is donated to the Prison Library Project, which is really cool. So you're essentially putting books in the hands of those who not only need it most, but wouldn't have access to it otherwise. And so that's really cool. And what's interesting is I then go and give talks at correctional facilities, and I sit there with the inmates in the prisons, and it's mind-blowing to hear how grateful they are to be in prison sometimes because of everything they're learning while they are there. And they acknowledge we wouldn't be learning this if we were on the outside. So they're actually grateful for being in prison. I've seen a couple of questions about forgiveness, how to deal with forgiveness. It's very interesting that this keeps coming up because we often have a hard time forgiving someone because we think they deserve our anger. But what we don't realize is that our anger doesn't hurt them, it hurts us. And so it's really important to realize that we are causing harm to ourselves, and that forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, not someone else. And a really good way to even start the process of forgiveness is to acknowledge that whatever it is you're upset about is in the past. It's gone. It's done. And beyond that, you're still here. You have survived whatever has already happened to you. So whatever someone did or whatever has occurred, it happened, yes, but you're still here. So I invite you to stop thinking why this happened to me and start thinking this happened for me, for me to learn from, grow from, and most importantly, to move on from. When you fail to forgive, you keep yourself stuck in the past. You keep yourself stuck in what already happened. You're living in something that's not even in the present moment, and you're bringing the pain from back then, which, granted, I'm not nullifying it. It happened, it occurred, but there's no reason for you to bring it into the present moment. You are actually ruining your present moment by staying stuck in the past. So forgive yourself, first of all, for having done that so far. And, forgive whoever did something for you. In fact, go beyond forgiving them to being grateful that they cheated on you, stole from you, whatever they did, because you've learned from that. You learned, apparently, a lesson that you haven't learned until then. The interesting thing is Pema Chodron says, a lesson will repeat itself until you learn it. So sometimes, something happens and we make a mistake or whatnot and we don't learn from it. Well, guess what? It's going to happen again and again and again and again until you learn it. And so you might be tempted to be angry at the person who did something that upset you, but then you'd be overlooking the lesson opportunity. So if you take every moment as an opportunity to learn something and grow from it, oh man, you can be grateful for the person who cut you off on the freeway. You can be grateful for the people who are testing your patience. Because the reward of patience is patience. So it's this wonderful cyclical, beneficial, growing opportunity. And I think that's how I would describe life. It's this wonderful cyclical learning opportunity to grow, to learn. How can I be the best version of me there is? How can I take everything that's happening around me and use it to help others? Now, keep in mind that you can't really help other people directly, I should say. What is helpful is to lead by example. So the way we can help is by living our lives peacefully, calmly, compassionately, kindly, and by doing that, other people will see our behavior and go, okay, look, here's another person who is living in downtown LA, for example, and they're not letting traffic bring them down. They're not letting, the fact that it takes an hour to go 5 miles upset them. They're using it as an opportunity to listen to an audiobook or to sit in silence or to just kind of focus on their breathing or whatever it is. And so that's how you can help someone. You can lead by example. Someone's going to observe your behavior and they're going to then come to you and ask you, hey, how do you do it? And then you can share with them. If you try to help someone before they're ready, and you try to push your beliefs onto them, you're literally pushing them away. And so, and we've all been, we've all experienced that ourselves when someone tried to push something on us, and we're less inclined to try it because it was pushed on us rather than we were invited or we were the ones who set out to make that change. Someone asked a question about a relationship and how do you know when it's time to go? Glad to say is when you ask that question, we're going to have, I don't know if you're local, but next, I believe it's next Sunday, or 2 Sundays from now, we're meeting in Ventura, and the topic of our discussion will be what a healthy relationship looks like, and the importance of asking that question, and to be able to answer, is it time to go? What is your intention of being in the relationship in the first place? Why are you there? Why are you in this relationship? What are you looking to bring to the table? And it's not about the other person being exactly like you. It's not about two people being the same and even necessarily sharing common interests. It's about, as Antoine de Saint-Exupéry said, it's about two people looking outward together in the same direction. And so if you entered into a relationship with a mutual intention, and at some point along the way, one of you changed your intentions, one of you have different I don't want to say expectations, but different outlook in the sense of what you're hoping that this relationship will help. Because the beauty of being in a relationship is that you grow in ways that you otherwise wouldn't grow in. The person essentially holds up a mirror to you, and they hold up a mirror to you and they show you, here's what you need to work on. Here is where you need to be more patient, more kind, more. So the relationship, as difficult as it is actually a great opportunity to grow if you use it as such, if that's what you're looking to get out of a relationship. But if you're looking for someone to complete you, then the problem isn't the relationship. The problem is that you think that you're somehow insufficient. So I can't necessarily answer that question directly, nor am I a therapist or can give you any relationship advice. But I can point you back into your intention in the first place, why you entered into it. And if that still holds true, then there's no reason to end the relationship. Another really good point is often when one aspect of your life goes south, we tend to blame things in our lives that we can control. For example, if certain things are out of our control, and by the way, nothing is under control. But what I mean is, if we feel like we need to control something, because let's say our job's a mess, traffic is bad, our car broke down, but you know what? I can't do anything about that, but I can break up with my partner. And you go out to break up with them, even though they are not necessarily the problem. It's the one thing you can do. That's not a solution. You haven't solved any of the things that were the problem. A good friend of mine was going to leave Seattle because she was having such a hard time at work, and through our conversation, she got more clarity that the problem wasn't Seattle, it was her boss. So she just changed departments at work, and everything was great. And she was really glad that she actually did not leave Seattle, because Seattle wasn't the problem. So before you jump into thinking, I need to leave the relationship that I'm in, by all means look at what the problem really is, and it may not be the relationship at all. Someone asked if there are any more books in the works. I am now dedicating myself to being a publisher. I started Hawkeye Publishers to help other authors who have either made the mistake of self-publishing through CreateSpace, and they can't get their books into bookstores, or they're in the writing process or have finished writing their book, but they're completely overwhelmed by the publishing industry. And I would love to just say, come to me, I'll take care of you. I'll get your book published, I'll make it available, and more information on that is definitely available on hawkeyepublishers.com. You can link to it through buddhistbootcamp.com and whatnot. So someone asked if I'll be doing an event, I believe it was Detroit. I'm trying to keep up with the comments as they fly up on my screen. Thank you guys so much for tuning in from everywhere, especially East Coast. It's pretty late over there. It's a little cost prohibitive. Oh, actually, it's not a little. It's very cost prohibitive for me to continue traveling across the U.S., UK, Australia. Again, would love to come back. And so these live feeds are actually a really good opportunity, short bits as they may be, for us to have a conversation about, okay, Timber, I really like this chapter in Buddhist Bootcamp about a simple life, or forgiveness, or anger, or religion, or whatever it is, or I just finished reading the memoir and I have a question about this. This is a really good opportunity for us to sit down and have that Q&A, and for me to clarify maybe something that didn't make sense, which is very possible. There's plenty of it. My gosh, Savannah, Georgia, and Chicago, and Australia, Delaware, you guys are tuning in from everywhere, and I'm extremely grateful. Thank you. And this is wonderful, because again, I'm in California at the moment, and it's difficult to travel everywhere. And so I'm really grateful for this live feed, and man, Canada especially. You guys, Beth, thank you for tuning in, because I can't imagine a trip across Canada at the moment, and so this is a really great way to do exactly that. So again, this is the 4-year anniversary of Buddhist Bootcamp. The book was published 4 years ago, and someone just asked about the 12-step program. Buddhist Bootcamp is used in a lot of 12-step programs, because addiction is addiction, and so it definitely is for everyone, regardless of religion or whatnot. And I again encourage you to get a copy of the book. And the only thing I ask is that when you're done reading it, don't let it sit on a shelf. Pass it on to at least 4 people. Then you can keep it on a shelf. And that's why if you order it personalized, Your name will be in it. I will sign it. I will include a bookmark in it, and you will, whoever you give it to will know to give it back to you. I've actually had people show up at an event, and I open it up to sign it, and on the side here there's a name and date of everyone who's read it. So yes, by all means, highlight, mark it, do whatever you got to do. Jessica, 5 year in recovery, 14 years here, fist bump. So thank you guys for again, using this as an opportunity. Like, hey, I like when people see this transparency, whether it be in the book where I'm completely transparent and honest, and they say, I like that. Well, use that as an opportunity to be honest yourself. To say, if I really like how honest Timber is, for example, then why don't I do that myself? Because other people, I've been told, oh, Timber, you're so brave for being honest. I don't think it takes bravery necessarily. I think people think that because they're afraid of being honest because they're afraid of being judged. But I'm here to tell you that in my experience, and as you know from both the very personal Buddhist Bootcamp and the extremely personal memoir, that when I'm so transparent and honest, people don't judge me for it. That's how people can relate. That's how people can say, oh yeah, me too. And that's the beauty of Faithfully Religionless. I think the title says it all. I think there are many of us who have had perhaps a negative experience with the church or religion or the Bible or a priest or whatever it is, whether it be childhood or present, or maybe the judgmental aspects of certain sects or traditions hit too close to home. And so at some point, people throw up their arms and they give up everything, the church, religion, the Bible, and God. And I'm here to say that God is not necessarily the problem. And the word God, which triggers a big reaction in a lot of people, that's a really good thing. That's an invitation going, why does that trigger me so bad? And is it perhaps because the word God means something bad to me? And maybe I need to redefine what the word God means, because I used to have that. I used to have a very strong negative reaction to anything religion-oriented. And now I've got, as you can see behind me, I've got Buddha sitting right next to Jesus and St. Francis, and they get along just fine. So, again, a lot of questions coming up on recovery. I think it's one of the most incredible opportunities to be raw, to be transparent, to be honest, to share openly and feel a sense of community in that we're all battling similar demons. And that's it's so important for us to acknowledge that we're not alone. I think that's the greatest thing about the books and the events and this, even though I see all of you guys can't see each other, but that's kind of the beauty in some of the comments online through posts, is that you get to see that you're not alone. And that only happens when we share openly. And so yes, we all have access to social media and the Facebook and Instagram and all that, but we only share the photoshopped version of our lives, and that's not real. It's not authentic. And I invite you to show, as Jesse just said, showing we have weaknesses, show our strength, and that's exactly it. For someone to say, "Hey, I have insecurities," that's an invitation for someone else with insecurities to say, yeah, me too. And then you feel less alone. I forget who it was who said it, but nothing makes us feel more lonely than our secrets. And that's why it's important for us to share those, to not be afraid. You see, if you have no shame surrounding your decisions in life and where you are and what you've been, then no one can use that information against you. And you can share it openly, and it's only going to heal not only you, but whoever you're with. So I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for your questions, for your interest, for tuning in. I believe the video stays available even past the live session. Again, please visit BuddhistBootcamp.com, order a book. Another copy will be donated to the Prison Library Project. And man, I can't thank you enough. I do have some events coming up. I actually have, please add yourself to the email list. I have a retreat coming up in Colorado in August. So that would be a really wonderful opportunity to have more than an hour together, but an actual time. Yes, Barbara, my intention is to do this on a more regular basis. Again, if you sign up to the email, every time I schedule one of these, you'll receive notification ahead of time, and you'll know that we're going to do a live Q&A. So again, sign up, BuddhistBootcamp.com. There's tons of information on there, videos, links, YouTube, Instagram. I try to do this in every way I can. So thank you guys for tuning in, and yes, I will send the books to the UK. I'll send the books everywhere. It's unfortunately really expensive to ship books out there, but it is available wherever books are sold. That's the beauty of it. And on your iPhone or Kindle or Faithfully Religionless, seriously, get it on audiobook. It's on Audible or iTunes. You can just download it from Audible. Again, the link is on my website. It's like $4, guys. And because again, I'm not doing any of this for the money. I just want to be able to share this. And what's wonderful about the Audible version of Faithfully is it'll feel like I'm sitting right next to you in the car, if you do have a long commute, and it'll just be like me telling you a story. And the beauty of it, unlike right now, is that you can just hit the volume button to shut me up. So anyhow, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you, and I look forward to doing this again. Get your questions ready ahead of time, and so that when I tune in, they're all right there, and we can talk about what you want to talk about. Thank you. Have a wonderful, make it a wonderful night, and we'll see each other soon. Aloha.